Great. Okay, so Fred, are you here? John?
Present.
James?
I'm here.
Dan?
Present.
Can we just test the mic because the studio audience says they can't hear me, but can everybody else hear me?
I can
We
hear
can hear you now.
Okay, you might want to move up to a closer chair, past the crowds. Okay, with that, we're already on to agenda item number 4, which is the COVID-19 update. Kurt, is there any update this evening?
I do not have an update unless there's a question from the board.
Yeah. Hey, Kurt, sorry, Supervisor Blundy, may I ask Kurt a question?
Sure, Dan, go ahead.
I guess I have 2 questions, Kurt. One, with the, can you give us an update? I know we had to close the pool this week. Can you give the community an update as to what the reopening plan is and if there's any changes to any of our protocols on that? I've gotten a lot of questions about that and I can't really give them many answers at this point.
There's not an update other than the email that went out to the members that the pool is closed for a week. We are undertaking testing as we speak. As we make the determination or come to get the answers regarding how limited or expansive the outbreak is, we'll determine a reopening schedule. For now, we've said the closure would be this week. And again, depending upon those numbers, it will dictate how and when that reopening could take place. So I would expect that we will know those answers by the end of the week, hopefully Friday, Saturday at the latest. That will make sure we communicate that back. Protocols at the pool are the same for the time being. We are doing a deep cleaning and we do clean the pool in all of the areas every day as it is. But we are taking this week to make sure all of that is done again with the hope that we can reopen in some form or fashion next Monday.
So so sometime over, maybe by the weekend, you might have an email out to the members letting them know whether or not they can come back. Is that what people should be keeping an eye out for in their emails?
We'll have an email out regardless, even if the status is unknown. We will make sure that we give an update. Obviously, if we're saying we're closing for a week, we need to give an update before the end of the week to let them know what the status for Monday is. So again, our hope is that testing is underway right now. We're starting to get results back at this point, very early, but we should have better answers hopefully in the next 48 hours.
Thank you. And the second question is sort of related. With the CDC guidance now for both vaccinated and unvaccinated folks to wear masks when indoors, what's our current township policy that's in place?
Township policy that we have for people entering the building is that to be masked when you come into the building. The enforceability of that that's not something that we could actively enforce. However, it's strongly encouraged and we ask for people when they come into the building when it's open to be masked.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then Kurt, you want to continue along to agenda item number 5, community announcements?
Yes. I did tell Monica leading into this, I didn't realize how this turned into a Park and Rec commercial here for the announcements, but tells you how much Monica has going on. Parks and Recreation, in-person recreation opportunities like Sunset Yoga, I can't believe I have to say this, Goat Yoga, Art Zumba, and Now are available. And you can go onto our website under lmt.org, under Parks and Recreation for more information. Community Day is August 28th. There'll be 3-on-3 basketball, vendors, rides, concert activities, and fireworks after dusk. If you need more information, you can call our Park and Rec department or email Kathy H@lmt.org. The 20th commemoration of 9/11 will be at the Garden of Reflection at 1950 Woodside Road throughout the day on September 11th. At 8:30, there'll be a ceremony to honor the victims of the attacks and mark the significant times of the day. From midday until 3 o'clock, there'll be quiet time to reflect on your own at the memorial. There will also be ambassadors who will be able to give information about the garden and 9/11 at this time. 7 o'clock will be the evening ceremony to unite the community and move into the future. September 12th is the 9/11 Memorial 5K at the Garden of Reflection. To register, please visit www.gork.com, GOR for Garden of Reflection. November 6th is the Veterans Day Parade on Edgewood Road. Interested sponsors and participants, please contact Kathy H. at lmt.org, or you could call the Park and Rec Department. That number is 267-274-1112. Our next Recycle Yard Waste Day will be held Monday, August 9th from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. The next Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day, which is a Bucks County event, will be held on August 14th at the Bucks County Technical High School in Fairless Hills on Worcester Road. I said that right, Worcester? Worcester Road. That's in Bristol Township. We will put the flyer on the website on our homepage for people to see. So for the things that people call us throughout the year, what can I do with my old big screen TV, oil, aged paint stuff? This is your opportunity to go and get rid of that in an environmentally conscientious way. That's all the announcements I have.
Hey, do any other supervisors have any announcements? Yes, go ahead, John.
So Community Pride Day is August 28th, and I'll be appearing in the dunk tank. And so what I'd like to remind folks, if you're over 18, you have 24 days to save up to spend on dunking me. So it's relatively low cost. I want to give you a heads up. If you're below the age of 18 and you still want to crack at me, that will be provided. No dunk tank. What?
I didn't think there was a dunk tank.
I wasn't aware that there wasn't a
No
dunk.
dunk tank this year?
I was just informed today there will be no dunk tank.
Can we turn the hose on you, John?
Find a way.
Fire hose, Kurt.
Monica's thinking of pies, so we want to be in the, but unfortunately, because of COVID, no dunk tank.
Well, if that's the case, there'll be another way for you to fundraise on behalf of the Lower Makefield Community Foundation. And wow, well, that takes out all the fun of being a supervisor. Jesus. All right, that's all I had.
James or Dan, do you have anything?
Yeah, just a quick one, Suzanne, if you don't mind.
Just one second.
Um,
Dan, I wasn't sure if James was also waving his hand, so.
okay.
Oh, no, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
No, this is a great one. I don't know if everyone else caught this, but our neighbor to the east in Trenton, Ething Mo, for those of you that have been watching the Olympics, just not only set the American record, but won the gold medal in the women's 800 meters in a time of 1:55, which is a blazing speed. At 19 years old, she's already a gold medalist. So I just wanted to give a very excited, proud, happy shout out to this young woman. I've been following her since she was in high school as a fellow 800 meter runner, and she's just phenomenal. So I just want to make sure that she got some love in Lower Makefield across the river.
Anyone else? Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, Andy's replacement. Oh, yeah, I'm not actually going to say hello, Owen. I'm just going to say we're on to agenda item number 6, which is the engineer's report.
Owen Hine with Remington Vernick Engineers filling in for Andy this evening. A couple updates. Sandy Run Road project is underway. I believe they're working on the second roundabout now. The project is on track for completion by the start of school. The Memorial Park project is underway. Contractors out there doing work on the new improvements there. Multi-use trail, PennDOT anticipates opening bids later this fall. The Woodside Bike Path project, our survey crews are going to be out there picking up information. We'll be getting into design on that project over the fall here. Big Oak Road, Makefield Road signal upgrade, projects in with PennDOT right now. And then the Route 332 Mirror Lake signal interconnection, we're waiting for contracts to be executed.
Thank you. Do any of the supervisors? Yes, Dan.
Just real quick on Sandy Run, and this might actually be for Kurt Owen. But how are we generally in terms of schedule? Like, try to keep an eye out for it, and I get questions about how we're doing relative to our plan versus where we're at. I know it's progressing. I'm just curious as to if we're on schedule, a couple days ahead, a couple days behind. Any thoughts on that?
So I did speak with Andy on this topic, and I know that for a fact that they are on schedule for opening before school. So how much cushion is there? They are going to open before school. Okay, so they are on track.
Good, thank you.
Any other? Any public comment? Yes, Lee. We have a public comment from the studio audience. I'm not sure that your mic is on. Can you tap it? Well, that might be true, but can you tap your mic and see if it's?
No, just flip the switch. Flip the switch.
It's our way of silencing you. There you go. Good, good,
All
good.
right, 247 Truman Way, Yardley. Just wondering about the paving. I think from an earlier meeting, you said that the town was going to do some paving at the intersection of Revere Road and I think it's Clark. That intersection's a real mess. Well, Clark Drive is a total mess, but I've seen it's been marked like since the spring. Is it going to happen? I'm just curious.
That's not on our paving program this year, I don't believe. So I don't know if that's something different than that or.
It's in Yardley Hunt, yeah.
Is that, Owen, off the top of my head, I don't know that that's is that in our paving plan, Owen?
Yeah, I don't have the streets in front of me. I could look into that and get back to you.
Kurt, I don't believe it is. That might just be a PA. Well, Lee knows this
PA1.
stuff. It might be a PA1 call for
Yeah,
something else.
That's what
that
I
they're
think as
marking.
well. Yeah, those aren't
Yeah.
roads
I
in our
think it's
paving.
fair to say that
Your
our
mic, I
road,
don't think your mic is on.
my mic is
In
on.
here? Oh, it is.
I- Lee,
All right.
I think it's fair to say that our road paving program is complete for the year.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're seeing there.
I can look into that, Lee, for you and
Well,
let
the
you know.
reason I'm saying is because it's been marked, it's been marked, and like I said, since the spring. And it's just that intersection,
It
even
would be like a water company marking from a
No.
well, it's got to be some utility company, I imagine, marking that because
Not
we wouldn't,
ours.
it would either, it wouldn't have been ours, but I can find that out for you.
Okay, and like, just while we're on paving, like for the paving program next year, how could I put in a recommendation?
Can make any request to me that you like. We evaluate the roads every year and put out a
And
3-year
the-
paving plan for consideration that our engineers and my public works director sit and will walk those roads and evaluate them and make a recommendation to the board as part of next year would be the 2022 budget.
Okay, so I'll get it to you as soon as I can.
Yep,
And that
you
would
can.
include bike paths as well.
We have a separate bike path 3-year plan as well. We currently have a 3-year plan, but we reevaluate that every year as well.
The last thing, I thought the last thing was the last thing, but this will be the last thing. I know I'm over 3 minutes, just quick.
Project updates,
The president of the HOA.
project updates. Are you on projects or are you on a
No,
different
no, no,
issue?
this is
Yes.
the HOA.
So
Well,
you'll,
well, I just want to know if this falls under the engineer's report. The
No.
No,
HOA
it does not.
president. Oh, so we can do that later.
Yes.
public comment?
Yeah.
That's where I thought he said he would be calling in. So
No, he's going to show up in person.
excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lee. See you in a bit, I'm sure. Okay,
Okay.
so we're done with the engineer's report and project updates. So we can skip along to item number 8, manager's report.
I don't have a specific report. I just want to say something real quick if I could. I want to thank, I want everyone to understand how incredibly hard our park and rec director works along with our pool manager. Our pool managers, everyone's aware, and I think it's important to say, there are issues with filling vacancies across just about every private company, certainly in the township. As I've said in a previous meeting, we are down, I think at the pool, somewhere between 25 and 30 staff members from a typical year. Our pool manager, to help mitigate some of the lack of staffing, she has been working between 16 to 17 hours a day. We've had to make certain provisions by which, as we know, we close the pool for an hour a day. We do that so we can We can be in line with child labor laws regarding how long a days teenagers, kids under 18 could work. We've had to do some rolling closures of the slide for a couple hours at a time, as well as the diving area. And I just wanted to point out to people that there are other pools that are feeling this as well. We have the county pool at Oxford Valley that opened a month late and is now open 5 days a week for 5 hours a day. The staff, and especially the management staff that has been filling in, including the people that we know that are permanent employees here, Monica and Lynn Todd, and that group is down at the pool doing everything we can to get through this year. The closure this week was very unfortunate, but it was determined in the end that the close contacts between the guards that both work together and socialize together, that we had to close this down to make sure that the outbreak was not more widespread, because as it stands, we're already short guards. So Lydia Miller, who's the pool manager, who's been logging these incredible hours and time and filling in every position, I commend her. And I want everyone to know that in the end, I'm proud of the work that they've done at the pool. It's been a difficult year behind the scenes, but I think it's gone with very few hiccups in terms of the public coming in, and we'll continue to work to try to get it opened up for the remainder of the year. Thanks.
Thank you, Kurt. And I want to echo what you said. And also, our thoughts are with the staff member. We hope for a speedy recovery. We hope that the outbreak remains small, but truly a Herculean efforts being done by everyone to keep the pool open as best as we can. You just have to drive around the township, see some of the private pools in some of the township developments, HOAs, whatever we want to call them. And most of them have signs posted on the curb. They're looking for guards. There's been coverage on this issue on the national news level. So while it's not ideal, I think that everyone is working really hard to keep the pool afloat. And I really appreciate the efforts of our team. So anybody else wants to say anything? Dan?
I wasn't going to say anything about the pool other than it is not at all easy for anyone involved with the pool to nothing is perfect, but they're doing a heck of a job and a heck of an effort as Herculean as you said, Supervisor Blendy. I couldn't agree more. Things happen, but I appreciate the quick response and the quick efforts to make it better, as it were, in an effort to get it back open. So that's all we can ask for. But we just want everyone to be safe, healthy, recover quickly. Some of us have firsthand experience with what this can do to your body, and hopefully nobody has that issue moving forward, and we can soon get back to business as usual in so many ways. I did have a totally unrelated manager report question, unrelated to the pool. Kurt, you and I have chatted a little bit on the side on some, I don't know who else has had this issue, but I know in the north part of the township, Pico Gas, not Pico Electric, Pico Gas has begun to go house to house, and they're replacing a lot of gas lines in the road and on people's yards. I haven't seen them give notice to us at the township, which is unfortunate. But as part of this issue, and this is what people have been contacting me about with concerns, is if you have a gas meter that's in your basement or inside your house, they are going into your home, and for the better part of 7 or 8 hours, you're without gas, and they're replacing the meter and putting it on the outside of your home. We don't know if I've heard, this is just anecdotal, I've had reports that they're not wearing, some of the contractors aren't wearing masks. They don't know if they're vaccinated, but Pico is calling to schedule to do these several hour projects, essentially, where not only are they coming to your home to replace the meter, they're also, when necessary, they're replacing gas lines. So they're tearing up yards and whatnot, kind of sort of in the same vein as, let's say, Verizon or Comcast was doing in the last couple of years for the fiber optic cable. But these lines, as they approach your house, they're typically replacing the lines that connect to your home. So it's, if you're landscaping or whatnot, it has an issue there. So, Kurt, I don't know if we've had any information from Pico to the township to make anyone aware, or if we have any means to contact them to make sure that we can get verification that their contractors are vaccinated, wearing masks, and what protocols are going to follow to keep everyone safe.
We would receive from Pico road opening permits where if they're doing work in the road that we have to restore as part of public infrastructure, where if they dig it up, they may put in cold patch in the short term so people don't bottom out, but they would be required to come back, get hot asphalt, clean up and pour and stabilize those areas. If there was work that was done to damage people's yards, then the contractor would be Pico and its contractor required to restore those yards. They wouldn't be able to leave them just dug up that way. And I don't have any information about that at this point. But in regards to the other part about people coming into their homes or contractors coming into their homes, I mean, we certainly have a municipal representative. I'm not sure of our ability to ask vaccination status, but I don't think in the end, the ability to ask someone to wear a mask to come into someone's home like that. Most contractors I've hired in my own house, they'll come in with a mask on or ask you, do you want me to wear a mask? So we can certainly make, I can reach out to obviously Ted Durant to ask, to go over what those protocols are and to make sure they're being followed. But in terms of some of the other work inside, or, that wouldn't be necessarily in our purview in terms of that work. Otherwise, just the public improvements and what have you, we would have that role in that.
But is there a way for us to get a schedule from Pico? I think when you
Mhm.
talk to Ted, can we get a schedule? If it's isolated homes, shouldn't be that big of a deal. But if it's like what we had wholesale with Comcast
Mhm.
or Public Works had told they had on the website where Comcast was,
Mhm.
at what time and what
Right.
they would do.
I-
And then there was follow-up response that
Oh,
Public Works did.
Right. I think, well, Public Works did that because that work was being done, outside when they were putting, the boxes outside and stuff to do that. In terms of, and Dan, I don't know if you said this or you're not, but I would imagine they're making an appointment to come inside someone's house. They're not just knocking on the door and say, we're here to replace your gas line. I would imagine they're making an appointment to do that.
As far as I know, yeah, as far as I know, they are making appointments. Some
In other-
people are can you hear me? Are being a little taken by surprise by it and obviously have some concerns and reservations given the times we're in these days about that. So
Yeah.
it's not as they're not communicating up front I think like Supervisor Lewis was just saying, they're not talking about schedules and giving clear descriptions of
let's have
the work and what the
I'm
people will
sorry,
be
Dan,
wearing
but
and doing.
let's,
I'm happy to
hearing a
look.
lot of different confusing
I-
things. So let's
I'm-
have Kurt reach out to the,
Yeah, I will. And
Go, and then try
and
to
certainly one of
figure out
those
how to-
requests can be whatever schedules that they are able to put their hands on, that we can get those and make sure we communicate those clearly.
yeah, but
We
I
did-
mean,
we-
I don't know. I'm so lost at this point because I don't imagine that Pico would give you schedules when they're going into people's homes. But if they're going block by block, but the best way
Yep,
to
we're
find
setting
that
up
out is
appointments
for-
in this
right.
area in August and this area in September, whatever they are able to give us. I will certainly reach out to see what we can get.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Yes, Lee.
It's 247 Truman Way, Yardley. I just back up to the engineer's report. Is there a completion date on that Sandy Run work?
So
August
the
30th.
Yeah, the engineer said it, then Dan asked it, Kurt
I
asked it
wasn't- I'm
again.
sorry.
Right.
August 30th, before school starts, was the original finish date benchmark for the project.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Is there any public comment on the line? No public comment. Okay. So moving along to agenda item number 9, the solicitor's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First thing, there was an executive session that commenced at 6:45 tonight. All board members were present either in person or virtually. And the executive session concluded around 7:15. Items related to litigation, informational items, collective bargaining, and personnel were discussed. And as an aside, Chief Coluzzi, Mr. Ferguson, and myself were also in attendance at the executive session. First thing and only thing officially under my solicitor's report is consideration of a resolution to accept the dedication of easements and public roadway for estates at Sandy Run, which was formerly part of St. Ignatius Church property. We do these fairly often, obviously, when certain developments get to the point where the engineer has determined that all punch list items have been satisfied and the maintenance bond will be in place for 18 months after the accepting dedication. So, of course, in this particular instance, Remington Vernick has done a very thorough job of checking all the easements and making sure the punch list or items are met with respect to inlets, roads, all the other parts of the public dedication for those areas that are listed in the resolution and the attachments. So at this point, we would ask for a motion to approve the resolution as indicated.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make it.
Thank you, James. Is there a second? Thank you, Fred. Is there discussion? Yes, John?
Solicitor Truelove, the counterparty is not St. Ignatius in this case.
Correct.
Correct. And the reason I want to make that clear is, as many of you know, I'm a parishioner of St. Ignatius, although I haven't been too observant lately. But once college basketball season starts, I'll be there. So with that, I don't have to.
No, there's no recusal required at all. If that's what you're asking me, then that's exactly, yep. So, no.
Is that it, John? Okay, thank you. James or Dan? Yes, Dan.
Real quick, and I think Owen's still there, but Dave, sorry, Mr. Truelove, you had mentioned that it sounded like they had all their punch list items done. I just want to, but we still are keeping some money back. Is that it?
Well, there's always a maintenance bond as part of the.
Maintenance bond. Okay, that's what.
Yeah, yeah, 18-month maintenance bond. Yep.
Okay. Mr. Hine, you're RVE and you are comfortable with everything? I always ask Andy the same question and stuff like this. Comfortable with their current status and comfortable moving forward with this?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment? No public comment here or on the line? Okay, then with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. The next two items under zoning hearing board matters, there's two appeals listed. First appeal number 21-1926, Jennifer Schneridman, hope I'm saying that name correctly, and Brian Pepe for the property located at 228 Emerald Drive, Yardley, Pennsylvania, tax parcel number 20-063-247. Applicants are requesting a variance from the Township Ordinance 200-23 capital B in order to install an in-ground pool with concrete decking, which would increase the impervious surface for the existing 18% to 22.3%, where 18% is the allowable amount. I would note that it was in the, I believe on the plans themselves that there were some stormwater mitigation measures which were set forth. Again, this is a fairly common application we've seen in the last year and a half plus. So under these circumstances, unless a contrary sentiment by any board members, we would recommend deferral to the zoning hearing. But as an aside, I would also mention that I don't believe this is in a flood zone, as it's in the Oxford Glen development, I believe, in that area. Hearing nothing, I would assume deferral is appropriate. Next, appeal number 21-1927, James Mook is applying for a variance or for variances at the property located at 2328 Lakeshore Drive, tax parcel 20-036-001. Is requesting a variance from the Township Zoning Ordinance 200-23 capital B to permit installation of a 762 square foot addition, which would increase the impervious surface from the existing 23.6% to 29.6%. For 26% is the allowable amount, and the Township Zoning Ordinance 200-22 to increase the rear yard setback on a non-conforming lot from 11 feet 10 inches to 19 feet 7 inches, where 45 feet is otherwise required. When we looked at this originally, we thought the deferral might be appropriate. even although the applicant is, again, on his plans, I believe, has significant stormwater mitigation measures, we're not recommending opposition, but we feel it may be, especially in that area, even though it's not a flood zone, it may be appropriate to participate. So if that's the case, if the board feels the same way, a vote to direct our firm to participate would be appropriate.
Yes, Dan?
Yeah, David actually is in the floodplain, just
Oh,
on
is
the
it?
very
Okay.
corner. It's the way it's drawn on there. I was just looking at the county maps. It hits the corner, but it's also the flood maps, the way they're drawn, don't follow topographic lines very well, so it might be even further in. That's the quirky part. But that being said, I would make the motion to participate in this matter with the zoning hearing board.
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion from the public? Anyone on the line? No one on the line? Okay. And with that, call the question. All those in favor of participation, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Go forth, David.
Thank you. And that's all we have for our report tonight. Thank you.
Okay, well then we are on to agenda night, item number 11, which is zoning inspections and planning. Jim, are you joining us? There you are.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight for the agenda, we have a proposed update to our fee ordinance and our fee schedule. We appointed our new building inspector earlier this spring, and as they've been working through the permits and reviewing everything, they came up with the idea that our electrical permits needed to be raised up. Currently, our fees are a little bit low. They hadn't been adjusted in a few years, and we need to raise them up to cover the cost of the issuance of the building permits. I did review other municipalities' fee schedules and rate schedules, and they're basically all over the place. We're not the highest, we're not the lowest. Some towns actually have it where they have a base fee for administration of it, but they leave the cost for the fee up to the homeowner for a third-party electrical inspector. So when you average that all out, our fee schedule that we have proposed in front of you, I believe is appropriate and will adequately cover the cost of administering our building inspection program for electrical inspections. As a part of this, we also wanted to clarify that building permits are not required for single-family residential roofing, siding, window or door replacements, provided there are no structural changes or changes in framing. So if you're just replacing out a door, same size, not changing all the framing that supports the door, you no longer need a permit. Same with windows. If you are expanding the size of the door or having to change out framing, or if you take off the siding and then you find that the sheathing beneath is all rotted out and have to replace that, then you do need a building permit so we can do proper inspections. But the fee schedule will clarify that that's something that is not required by the state mandated building code and is not required by Lower Makefield. And one other item is the cost for residential zoning hearing board appeals. We did raise that up a few years ago, and then after tracking the expenses that we do, we determined that it would be more appropriate to have a flat fee for the zoning hearing board of $720. Currently, we have a fee of $500 for the application fee and $250 in escrow for expenses. It turns out that our costs are all trending a little bit lower than that, so I believe it would be appropriate to reduce the fee to $720 from the current $750. And this would also reduce some of the paperwork burden that our staff has accounting for all the expenses for all of the costs associated with governing the zoning hearing.
Thank you. And with that, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to amend the fee schedules and changes for electrical inspection fees and the residential zoning hearing board application fee.
Thank you, Fred. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. Is there any discussion from the board? Is there any public comment? No public comment? And with that, call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Okay,
Thank
with that, we are up to public comment. I just have to comment on those shirts. I think it's great. Team Regency.
My name is Mark Paroli, president of the HOA at Regency at Yardley, 221 Grant Way, Yardley, Pennsylvania. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chamberlains, Glenn and Tim, for coming out so quickly to take a look at what we believe to be a potentially dangerous and life-threatening situation in one section of our community. I believe all of you received a document Kurt had sent out, a document that the Chamberlains had sent out based on their review with a 43-foot fire truck attempting to get into our southern entrance. They made some recommendations, and one of the recommendations that Kurt had made is that the HOA board had to get involved with this. So here I am, and we talked about this on Monday. At this point in time, regardless of where we are with the final paving, that's not an issue. Hopefully that'll happen as quickly as possible. Lee had asked the question about where we are with Sandy Run because Harris is due to come in and do us after they finish there. And I don't know if the April 30th date is the paving part or
Make sure you say August or I'll have people.
August. I'm sorry, August. What did I say? All right.
Said April 30th, so
Yeah.
I just.
No, that was last year. Okay, so I'll assume that the August 30th date is a finalized date, may not necessarily impact when Harris is going to be finished with their paving. So I guess I can review that with Andy to see, because we're on schedule for August 18th.
And I think the reason, just so you're aware, you know, when Lee, with all due respect, came in, when I had spoken with, when the chair and I had spoken about this over the weekend, you know, the discussion is the appropriate process would be, right, with all due respect, Lee, is that you have an HOA executive board presence of some representative of the board saying what Lee is requesting, if he's not on the board, is consistent with what the board would like to see. Those emails had come in that we had seen. I did forward that email to the board. And Dave, would you mind pulling that up for me? Those pictures, please. You could scroll down. Can you pull up, there you go. And just go up to the bottom picture first, please, with this shrub. So for the board and for the public, Deputy Chief Chamberlain, who's also our fire inspector, had gone out to look at the site, written a letter on July 30th with 2 recommendations. And the first that he says is that little island that you see there with the planters, if that would be removed, that would help response times. Well, I want to be clear, the road itself and what was approved some time ago is code compliant. However, Tim, in response to Lee's concern, felt like there was merit into reducing response times, and this would be helpful. The first would be to remove that planter. And then the second area that he talked about, if you could go to that upper picture for me, Dave. And he had given the example, if you see there on the picture, that some trucks are already having some issues navigating. You can see where the sidewalk there on the right picture is scarred there with a truck. If you could, can you scroll up for me, Dave, to the picture up above? And then I think there was some discussion, at least that was outlined, that whether or not those gates would still be used. And if the intent would be that those gates would never be activated or used, having those to come out as well would serve that purpose effectively of reducing response times and allowing the ladder truck, which is 43 feet, to get more efficiently into that part of the development. I think you were coming in your emails that the HOA would be in favor of that. And part of, if the board was favorable to having that done, would be for the township to approach toll, because there would not be a lot of cost for toll to do this. and I'm sure Toll, I've been involved in these things before, would say, well, we need to see evidence from the township that they're okay with it, and the HOA that they're okay with it before they would do that. And because we're talking maybe a couple of weeks before paving starts, potentially, I think that the need was to try to move quickly to if we can make this happen. So that was the whole point of pressing through this weekend. These are the changes that Deputy Chief Chamberlain is talking about, which are not dramatic or expensive, but effective.
So you are in fact in favor of what he just said, right? The board at Regency says, please work with Toll and see what you can help us get accomplished.
Absolutely. And as to whether the gates will become functional, at this point in time, we've heard from Toll that while they're there selling homes, which to my best knowledge is April this time, of 2023, before they will complete the selling of the homes, the townhomes. We don't have any evidence that says, oh no, the board now can change and say we can get rid of the gates or even put it for a vote. We would need 2/3 of the eligible residents to vote them out. So we're not even at that point. But one thing I wanted to make clear is that we don't want to wait 2 years for final paving just because of this. For two reasons. Number one, some people have waited 9 years for their final paving. And number two, this is something that needs to be done. I think it's acknowledged that that's the case. The board is, yes, very much in favor. And just to be sure we're on the same page, to eliminate the island, which is on the lower.
Go down
picture.
below, Dave.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Also, it's indicated that if there is some way in which we could expand either side, both the exit and the entrance. One thing that's not on here, which has been a continuous problem, and it's an accident waiting to happen. Unfortunately, if I can stand up, can I do that? Okay.
In general, there's a 3-minute limit on public comment, but I appreciate that there's more to talk about here. So I'm good if the board is good with allowing you to continue.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you zero in on the house that sits right by the box,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, as part of the approved plan, that house is allowed to exist. Obviously, it's there. It is so close to the exit that unfortunately, we have some people, residents as well as visitors, who instead of exiting on the exit side, they exit on the entrance side. To the degree that we can open that up and make it easier for people to exit on the exit side and allow for emergency vehicles, entrance and exit, that would be very helpful. So in looking at some of the things that we would like Toll to do, why it was approved in the past, I'm not going there, but it would be helpful if both sides.
We lost audio.
Yeah.
I just would say to the board,
Yes.
I'm not prepared for that discussion. That
Correct.
would be at considerable expense. And at this point, I'm not sure that is a demand I could make of Toll. I think I'll let you finish. The things we're talking about here are things that can be done quickly, that wouldn't require an adjustment of the plan, which is, but that plan is a little more complicated because of the circumstances around it. So as of right now, what we're prepared to talk about is what the deputy chief looked at with those areas, widening, moving that out and stuff. That's not something at this point I'm prepared to address. Quite honestly, if that island is removed, I'd have to involve a township traffic engineer to assess the width, the cost, and I'm not prepared to do that at this point.
So I understand what we're talking about in terms of the island, but now I'm a little bit confused in terms of the gate.
Me too.
Because I thought what had been requested was that there was a belief that the gates would never be operationalized. Not that what I thought I heard you say is that they won't be operationalized for some time.
At this point in time, what I hear from Toll is that at some point in time, the HOA board will have the opportunity to put out an amendment the eligible voters of the community about whether they in fact want it to be operational. That will not occur at the earliest April of 2023, and I don't want to hold this up because I think it's important. And just to your point, Kurt, if we can look at this in a two-step process, the one part that you've talked about in terms of the island, if that can be done quickly, that's great. You know, and absolutely would be in favor of that because I know it would help getting emergency vehicles in. If we have an opportunity to talk about the other parts down the road, that would be great.
And quite frankly, for the board's sake as well, you know, Deputy Chief Chamberlain would tell you in the end, if trucks can navigate more efficiently in there, even if 2 years from now, the HOA board doesn't want that, I don't think that there would be, at least from a safety perspective, opposition to those things coming out to benefit that truck to benefit emergency vehicles from getting in there. So, I mean, if that's what you're asking at this point, that we approach toll with removing that first island, we could do that as quickly as tomorrow. Now,
Yes.
on the other things, I'm happy to have a conversation. Our ability to put our foot down and make them do something would be more problematic with what you're asking about. I'm not saying it's not a discussion that we can't have. This is, I think, an easier sell to toll to have them not put something in there if your board is good with that.
Yes, if we do it in a two-step process, get this done as quickly as we can.
Okay.
Okay, so do you need us to take any formal actions to ask you to work with toll, or are we good? Okay,
I don't think it needs a motion. No.
okay. And John, I see you moving your mic. Is there something you'd like to say?
It might be a good idea to remind Toll about our experience with them in 2017, when the township worked aggressively to address mold issues. I don't know if, Mark, you were there for that. Lee, you probably weren't there. But we took an active role when Toll wouldn't. And we expended money to resolve the issue because people's life and health were at risk. So Toll wasn't particularly helpful. If they need to be reminded of that, I would certainly be willing to sit with you and explain how they need to be reminded of what we did for them. So I'm sure that you can offer that as a follow-up discussion if they don't bite on the first one.
And yes, Dan.
Kurt, can I just clarify a question on that, on the landscape island? Does that, other than possibly traffic calming, I guess, would be the reason that might typically be given for that? Does that serve any other function? It doesn't look like it to me based on the elevation of it, but it's not a rain garden or anything like that, right? It's not part of the stormwater system there?
I think it's just meant to be decorative.
A little more okay. And then,
Sure.
Owen, have you looked at, I don't know if you've looked at this at all, but this was approved a while ago. I just want to make sure we're not removing something that's part of a required system, that's all.
No, it's just a median island landscape. There's no stormwater management component, nothing like that.
It looked pretty basic. I just wanted to make sure. And I don't remember what year this was approved. Probably predates all or most of us. So I guess if we get something
this
else
was
like,
part of the overall matrix settlement. It was a component that came after that.
okay,
I'm thinking 2012, something like that. I don't think I was a solicitor at the time, but it was not that it makes a difference. I'm just trying to put it in context. I'm going to say around 2012, I believe 2013, but it was, as you know, many of these areas that are in the general area that we would call the matrix project originally are part of an overall settlement, have to go through that process with the consent agreement that was entered into now about 20 years ago.
2006, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
Okay, so
there's not too much in the way of lessons learned for how to review site plans and try to do this up front. I think we do that now. So we're just trying to make something
as
better.
the solicitor said, this was all part of the court order that previous boards didn't really have a lot of fingerprints on because of the way that developed. So if there's nothing else, we thank you for coming. This is not usually what we do during public comment, but I think it was important to get this done. So
Thank you.
hope
Appreciate the
all
time.
works.
Thank you.
I'll communicate back with the two of you with how that goes.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. No, Lee, you can't comment.
Lee Pedowitz, 247 Truman Way. I appreciate the board's help. I appreciate the help that Mr. Majewski has given me. I'm just curious, like if Toll Brothers developed a plan, let's say, a plan for Regency, then what do? Do they submit it to the town for its approval? The town engineer approves it? How does that work?
So, I mean, at some point, we're happy to go through that whole process, but on this particular project, because it was a result of lawsuits and settlement, the town's role was very different than what the town's role normally is. And their ability to make changes or influence was not really there.
Okay, because what I'm getting at, the way I understand it, normally a plan would be presented to the town. Oh, I'm sorry, the Commissioner Board. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
actually, I was going to say if I could, I believe Mr. Majewski posted either on the website or in the planning commission section or another area, a step-by-step process for land development, so you understand where it goes at which time. And that would really help for you to understand, where you could go through and see every one of the steps. Also on the website in the planning commission area, so it's under building, planning and zoning. It's a section that Mr. Majewski manages mostly, I'm sure. It has the details of where each plan is and which stage they're at in the land development process. So you can go in and see, okay, here are the plans for X thing. And in the spreadsheet, it has what the status of there. And I think that's, that's up to date as of a couple of weeks ago. Is that correct, Mr. Majewski?
I try to update it monthly, and that would be on the Planning Commission webpage on our website.
Wait, I'll take a look at it, but ultimately it's got to get approved by the town engineer. Is that correct?
Not ultimately. The town engineer would do a review and make a recommendation, conditions, negotiate back and forth and make a recommendation in a typical development where the Board of Supervisors would inevitably be the ones to approve.
So I understand there were a lot of legal ramifications for this matrix, whatever that was going on. It was before my time. Who would have given the final stamp of approval to this entry-exit design?
Probably the court.
The court?
If it was a settlement agreement, I don't believe the
Really?
township would have had a role in that
That's
final.
what we're trying to say. This particular development, like,
Was an
you'll-
oddball, huh?
yeah. So, thank you, John. Oh, go ahead, John.
I was going to suggest, Mr. Pedowitz, this is one of those things that we've come across because we have some cases, we've had to deal with this over the years. There's some folks who have worked on the matrix settlement, and I don't know if you know Mr. Zach Rubin of Covington Road, and who lives very close.
He was here, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he has almost encyclopedic knowledge of how the matrix process occurred, and he might remember exactly how that particular process occurred.
We're coming up on 3 minutes, Lee.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, my next question is, how can I get into longer discussions with you folks? Impossible, right?
It's not impossible, but it's not public comment.
Okay,
So,
well, I'm going to go into the
But
discussion items.
Suzanne, may I say something? Lee, some of your questions regarding process and how things, that's what we have staff here for. So if you have questions about plans, projects, procedures, Jim or I or whomever the appropriate staff member would probably be best equipped to help you grasp those details.
Okay, thank you. And I'll take care of that. But just the one thing, on the way this thing was designed, whether it was the courts or matrix, it's a disgrace. If some engineer put his or her stamp on it, that person should be fired or whatever. Because hopefully, I know we're going to take that little nub out, but there's like a little U-turn area too that I would think could be accommodated to make a safer entry and exit way. But I know it's up to the traffic engineer, but
Hold on, I need to say one more thing. Any change to a plan, though, because it was a result of a settlement, would have to be a legal discussion for how that would take place. If it was a development that went through the normal process, okay, goes through the reviews and gets approved by the board, could very well require an amended plan to be submitted, that they would have to go back through the process, which involves the planning commission, the engineers' reviews, recommendations to change a plan to that scope.
I'd probably be dead, huh?
Well, because all of those plans end up being recorded and there's easements and all of those things. So that it is a lengthier,
But,
more convoluted
This is a
process.
safety issue, so
I'm not arguing that, but it's still the same process.
yes, John.
Mr. Pedowitz, I received a text from Mr. Rubin, who said that Regency went through the regular saldo process and did not have anything to do with the court agreement. So it went through there you go. The regular saldo process,
So,
which
okay,
Mr. Majewski will be able to give you the full
Yeah.
details on.
I'm sorry to take up your time, and I'm really sorry that you're not going to get dunked on August 28th.
You and me both, Mr. Bedowitz. What's the benefits of this gig? Parades and dunk tanks. Come on.
Donate a whole month's salary for that.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there any public comment on the line? No public comment? Okay, then agenda item number 13, discussion items. Are there any discussion items, supervisors? Hearing none, moving on to supervisors report, agenda item number 14. I have no updates since last we met. James,
I have no updates.
thank you. Fred?
I'm sorry.
Fred?
I have
Bueller?
nothing to report. However, the property committee, the ad hoc committee will be meeting tomorrow and going over the property list again.
Excellent, thank you for that. John?
So, short report, the Citizens Traffic Commission will be meeting now on Monday. And quick question for Township Manager, because I wasn't certain. Have we gotten back the report from SAFE on the Big Oak stuff yet or no?
No,
Okay,
not yet. We're
Just
meeting,
wanted to
they're navigating that. My guess is I will be hopefully presenting something to the board in the next few weeks or so would be the goal. And I think if we follow the process, for example, like that we did with trees, I would imagine the board will hear what the traffic engineer has to say, and that would probably be a likely place it would land back to after that was done. But hopefully by the end of August, we'll have that.
excellent. That's all I have.
Thank you, John. Dan?
Sure, thank you. The Electric Reliability Committee met. Kurt, if you haven't already, you should be receiving a letter with recommendations, primary recommendation to invite, to provide to Supervisor Blundy as the chair, obviously, to invite PICO to a public board of supervisors meeting to give us some updates on some of their reliability projects, other goings on in the township, some of the work they've done in the past, some of the work they're planning in the future. And I believe it also provides some recommended questions for them to ask. It's for them to answer, I should say, along there. If it hasn't hit your inbox yet, it probably will soon. I haven't seen it go to you, but I know it's out there. Just giving you a heads up. Committee's been meeting regularly and is doing some great work right now. They did an analysis of all of the generators that have been installed since 2013 to try and get a good feel for where there may be particular reliability concerns throughout the township. So I wanted to thank them for that work. That wasn't easy. Planning Commission is meeting August 9th. And one of the items on the agenda that I know is of interest to my other two committees, the Historic Commission and HARB, I believe what are we calling it? The Troilo development at the point, so the Quill House area. There's a sketch plan that's being discussed. There's been, I don't know, maybe a handful of sketch plans put out there that have been discussed. Some all very interesting. Lots of stuff around that. So if anyone's interested in seeing the latest on that, that'll be on Monday. And Mr. Majewski, I believe that's going to be a hybrid meeting similar to this one. That's correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you can you can attend either in person or via Zoom. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, then moving along to any other business? Any public comment or other business? I'm going to say no. Oh, there's a finger up. Holding. Sure, as long as there's a public comment, sure. Yeah. Thank you. Is Zach here yet? Okay.
Hit 6. Hello?
Hi, Zach. Could you please state your full name and address for the record, please?
Zachary Rubin, 1661 Covington Road. I appreciate John Lewis bringing up my name here. Of course, I was involved, excuse me, with the Residents Against Matrix. And the Regency plan that Toll Brothers submitted went through the regular Saldo process. It had nothing to do with the court agreement. The court agreement just meant the number of homes that were going to be there and certain financial contributions that Toll Brothers would make to the township. So everything that was developed went through the regular Saldo process.
Yes, John was kind enough to read the text. I think he referred to you at the time as an encyclopedia, Zach, for all your historical
Well,
knowledge on this. So thank you
since
for
the
that.
Encyclopedia Britannica, I think, is dead, I don't appreciate that comment. But
John,
you could say,
please don't do that
it could be
again.
maybe the Google. I could be a Google person.
Google Zach. Thank you for calling in, Zach.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye. Good night. All right, well, then with that, we're on to agenda item number 16, appointments to board and commissions. Do I hear a motion about any appointments or reappointments?
I move to make the following reappointments. Mr. Jeff Herco for Harb. His term currently expires August 16, 2021. Ms. Barbara Nazzolo for the Historic Commission. Her term expires 8/16/2021. Mr. Dan Bankowski, he is on farmland preservation. His term expires September 3rd. Mr. James Bray, Environmental Advisory Council, term expires September 4th, 2021. Alan Dresser, Environmental Advisory Committee, term expires September 4th. I strongly recommend reappointment for all 5 members.
Second.
Thank you, James. Is there any discussion? Any public comment? With that, we'll call the question on the reappointments. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. And with there being no further business before the board, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.